Sunday. I am a senior lecturer. I'm an expert in international relations and international security. Today we're going to be looking at basic concept in international relations, a continuation from the last topic we discussed. Just like every field of study, international relation has its own peculiarity in terms of concepts, in terms of terminologies that you apply. In accounting, there are terminologies that you know that these are accounting terms. In sociology, in medicine, in physics, every field of study has its own concept. In other words, terminologies. And so when we say concept in international relations, it means that we want to look at terminologies, terms that are applicable, that are utilized in international relations as a field of study or as an act. So it is very important that as students of international relations, you get yourself acquainted with some of these choices of words that are associated with this field. In fact, this can distinguish you from others, right? Your ability to master these terminologies distinguishes you from people who are not experts in the field, of international relations. And so we have concepts such as bipolarity, unipolarity, multipolarity, deterrence, diplomacy, power, and so on and so forth. These are very important concepts that as students of international relations you need to get acquainted with. Having said that, before we begin to look at this concept, it is important to refresh our memories as to what is international relations and what are the factors, precipitating the romance and intercourse between and among states within the global system. You will agree with me that the nature of the international system is such that no country, no matter how powerful, no matter how rich, no matter how endowed that country is, there's no such country that can survive in isolation because no country or no state is a state of autarky. Nature has done it in such a way that nations are unevenly blessed. And so relationship between and among states is an inevitable venture as far as international system is concerned. Hence, international relations is not negotiable. Every state within the global system must negotiate. Every state within the global system must relate. Every state within the international system cannot survive in isolation. But it's important to state that the relationship between states is geared towards, promoting, projecting, and protecting their national interest. And so national interest is at the forefront of state relationship. National interest is at the forefront of global politics. National interest is at the forefront of international relations. And so regardless of the actions or inactions of states, as students, as experts in international relations, you should understand that whether a state looks philanthropic or not, there are interests that this state intends to achieve. What that simply means is that the actions or inactions of state within the global system is defined by their national interest. So having said that, what are some of these concepts? Let's start with the concept of bipolarity. Right? What is bipolarity as a concept within the international system? Bipolarity simply means a situation within the global system where two countries are adjudged to be the most powerful. So the concept of bipolarity, unipolarity, or multipolarity are concepts that are associated with power equation within the global system, power distribution within the global system. Of course, if you take a look at the global system, you have the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and each of these, regardless of whether it is north, south, there's this relationship between the north and the south. Hence, sometimes in international politics, we talk about the politics of north-south dichotomy. But be that as it may, we are saying that there are situations within the global system in terms of power acquisition, in terms of capacity, where certain countries or an individual country may be adjudged to be the most powerful country. There are situations within the global system where it is difficult to tell that one single country can be adjudged to be most powerful, or just two countries are adjudged as most powerful, or several countries are judged to be powerful. Right. So all of these falls within the context of bipolarity, unipolarity, or multipolarity, as the case may be. And so when we say bi simply means two. Bipolarity simply means a situation within the global system where two countries are adjudged to be the most powerful countries within the global system. For instance, we have over 192 countries within the global system. If the international system agrees by every standard of measuring power that these two countries, say for instance Nigeria and US, are the most powerful countries within the global system, it means that the international system is bipolar in nature. Right? So if I want to ask you, for instance, what do you think is the power equation within the global system? Do you think that the global system is bipolar? Do you think the global system is multipolar? Or do you think that the global system is unipolar? Some persons will say that, as far as they are concerned, the global system is unipolar. Unipolar simply means a situation within the global system where one country is adjudged to be the most powerful country. Some persons will say, no, the United States of America is the most powerful country within the global system. Therefore, the global system is unipolar. As far as they are concerned, there's no country that can measure up with the power of the United States of America. Some will say, no, Russia is the most powerful country in the world. And so, as far as they are concerned, the global system is unipolar. So, regardless of what you think the global system is, the most important thing is for you to be able to ascertain whether or not the global system is such that only a country is generally agreed to be the most powerful country within the global system. So a situation where we have such phenomenon, it simply means that the global system is unipolar. But a situation where two countries are adjudged to be the most powerful, it means that the global system is bipolar. But the situation where two or more countries are adjudged to be the most powerful, it means that the global system is multipolar in nature. So, let me ask you this question. What do you think is the global system in terms of power equation? Is it bipolar? Is it unipolar or is it multipolar? But as the teacher and as an expert in international relations and international security, I'm of the opinion, my opinion may not be the same with yours. Of course, you can context my opinion. I'm of the opinion that the international system is multipolar. Multipolar in the sense that it is difficult to say one single country is the most powerful. It is difficult to say just two countries are the most powerful because we are beginning to see the emergence of more powers. We are beginning to see countries that hitherto were disregarded, and today the international system cannot do without them. Today they are ranked top in terms of power, in terms of economy, and so on and so forth. For instance, China. China is a very powerful country. So, in my view, China is powerful, and as such, China cannot be relegated. What about North Korea? In my view, North Korea is powerful, and so North Korea cannot be relegated. Before now, there's an impression that the possession of nuclear weapons, nuclear heads, is restricted to certain countries. But as the international system is experiencing its dynamism, we are beginning to see more countries possessing nuclear weapons. What that simply means is that it's difficult to tell now that just two countries or just a country is the most powerful or two countries are the most powerful within the global system. There are now emerging global powers and they play immense role as far as the international system, is concerned. So I'm of the opinion that the international system is multipolar. But of course, after World War II that ended in 1945, the international system came to the realization that the then USSR, which is now Russia, and the US were adjudged to be the most powerful countries in the world. What that simply means is that post World War II, we had a bipolar international system. But now, in this era, in this 21st century, I do not think that we still have a bipolar or a unipolar system like we had after World War One. What we have now, in my opinion, is a multipolar international system. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we have succeeded in doing is to look at these three concepts. Concept of bipolarity, unipolarity, and multipolarity. Bi means two, uni means one, multi means plenty. So all of these are very important as far as your understanding of the global system and the politics among nations, and of course, who gets what, when, and how within the global system is concerned. Power, understanding power, knowledge of power within the global system is very important. And of course, that's why one concept, of course, also in international relations, is the concept of power. And closely related to the concept of power is the concept of balance of power. And closely related to the concept of balance of power are what we call elements of national power. And so, in deciding, in adjudging, or in judging a powerful nation, you must use the element of national power as indices or indicators for measuring the capacity of a country. So, what then is power? Power simply means the ability of A to make B do what ordinarily B wouldn't have done. But of course, don't get it wrong. Remember that power as a concept in international relations does not have a single universally acceptable definition. Power means different things to different people. The concept of power is not only plethora in nature, it is omnibus, right? And is ambiguous. And so you have multiple definitions, right, of what power is. Of course, even in physics, we have power in physics. However, in the context of international relations, in the concept of international politics, power is viewed in terms of capacity or in terms of ability to for a nation to make another nation do what ordinarily that nation won't have done. And that's what power is. And so it has to do with economic might, military might, technological capacity, and so on and so forth. So power is a very important concept in global politics. And that's why, for instance, Hans Morgenthau titled that his book, Politics Among Nations, The Struggle for Power and Peace. What that simply means is that for nations to enjoy peace, they must acquire power. No wonder Clausewitz also said, if you want peace, you must prepare for war. What Clausewitz was indirectly saying is that power is important to the degree of peace that a nation can enjoy as far as the global system is concerned. No wonder at some point in the international system, countries began to embark on arms race, trying to expand their capacity to be able to withstand threats within the global system, to use power as a source of deterrence, within the global system. And so this is key. So power as a very important concept in international relations. Another very important concept in international relations is bilateralism. Bilateralism, unilateralism, and multilateralism. Very important concepts as far as international relation is concerned. And just like, as we applied in bipolarity, bi simply means two. And so when we say bilateralism, in international relations, we're simply referring to a kind of relationship that exists between two countries. This relationship could be political, it could be economical, it could be diplomatic, it could be cultural, as the case may be. But once there is a form of relationship, a special kind of relationship strictly between two countries, then what is taking place is bilateralism. And in most cases, this relationship is entered into with the signing of treaties or the signing of memorandum of understanding to ensure that this relationship is of mutual, symbiotic benefit, to the parties in this relationship. For instance, there's a bilateral relationship between Nigeria and Ghana. There's a bilateral relations between Nigeria and Niger. There's a bilateral relations between Nigeria and the United Nations. Bilateral relations between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. It doesn't now mean that Nigeria will not relate with any other country. But what that simply means is that this relationship is designed to achieve certain specific objective. Hence, nations also enter into this kind of relationship. And like I said, a relationship that is strictly between two countries, it is called bilateralism or a bilateral relationship. A relationship that is between two or more countries is called multilateralism. For instance, the ECOWAS is a multilateral institution because every country within West Africa is a member of ECOWAS. Yes, of course, we have instances like recently where Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali are threatening to pull out of ECOWAS, right? It therefore means that they could pull out by option. They could also decide to join. For instance, Mauritania pulled out from ECOWAS, but that's not the context of our conversation. The context is that countries can come together, form an association, form a regional integrative framework, form an international organization. Such frameworks are multilateral institutions. What that simply means is multilateralism, a process or a situation where several countries come together to form an association to project, to protect, and to promote their collective interests. And so, ladies and gentlemen, multilateralism, bilateralism, unilateralism are also important concepts as far as international relations is concerned. Another very important concept in international relations is the concept of foreign policy. Very important. The concept of foreign policy. So, what we're going to do, I'm not just going to discuss foreign policy as a concept. We're going to look at foreign policy in entirety. And so, look out for my next video on foreign policy. Very, very important discourse as far as international politics is concerned. And so, in that video, I'm going to be doing a diagnosis and a prognosis of the concept of foreign policy, the factors that determines or shape a country's foreign policy, and we're going to put forward copious examples. And in fact, we'll end that with what we call in international relations foreign policy analysis. And so thank you for watching that video. Ensure that you subscribe to my channel and expect, of course, more interesting, more engaging conversation as far as international politics is concerned. Thank you. I remain Dr. Adejoh Sunday.